I was married for 16 years before, and when I was in the process of literally signing my divorce papers, I licked the tip of that pen before I wrote my name and said, the next time I do this, it's gonna be different, because I already knew that I was meant to be a wife. That first marriage failed, but I wasn't a failure as a wife. I learned my lessons, and I was like, I'm ready. I was ready right then. If I would have met him right then, I would have married him.
Once I got divorced after 12 years, I said, I'm never getting married again. Never. I'm done with marriage. I felt like, I had to learn how to love myself, which I didn't love myself. I didn't know what it meant to love yourself. And so I took that into my first marriage. And so I felt like my life was abundantly full and didn't have any room for anyone else. So when I met him, I remember having this feeling of connection and love, but never felt like this is the one, we're gonna get married.
And I remember having a conversation with Solange, and she said, Mom, I got 4 friends who have mothers or fathers that's divorced, and they're in their late 50s, and they've all remarried, and they are so happy. And I was like, I don't believe that. Where am I going to meet somebody? I'm not going to clubs. I'm not going. She's like, I don't know, on the airplane. Maybe it's somebody you went to high school with. I don't know, but it's going to happen. And it did happen. His sister was my best friend, and so I met him at her house, and I was pregnant with Beyonce then. It was my first time going there, and he was, I believe you were on Dynasty? You were on one of the shows then. And
that was Dynasty came a little bit later.
Okay. But anyway, he was on TV a lot, and I was like, wow, he's really fine. But when I met him, of course, I was married and he was married, but he was a cutie.
She was one of the prettiest women that I had ever seen. Oh. And she was, and her spirit was probably more beautiful than she was.
I recognized who she was. I kind of played a little coy, and I was like...
Wait a minute, you recognized who I was, but you didn't want to let me know you knew.
Exactly. So I didn't want to know. So I introduced myself. I said, my name is Jay. I said, what's your name? And she said, Niecy. So I'm like, okay. So
okay, can I tell some stuff?
Yes, you can.
Okay. We shook hands. Give me your hand, baby. We shook hands, and then I never let his hand go, right? And we talked for a couple minutes, and then I said, you want to give me my hand back? And he was like, oh, my bad, sorry. And I made him think he liked me already. So, anyway, we talked for 5 minutes, and this is the gotcha. I don't mind the hard questions, and he hit me with them right away. He asked me all the hard questions right at the beginning. Have you been married before? Do you want to be married again? Do you have children? How old is the youngest? And just all of these things. And he walked away, and my friend who introduced us comes right back and says, so, what did you think? And I said, I hate him. And she was like, why? And I said, because he's boring. He was so linear. What is this? What are you trying to do with that? I didn't know he was looking for his wife. So that if you didn't match up on the checklist, I didn't know if my answers were right or anything. I just was like, he's boring, and I do not like him.
We met at the famous or infamous Roscoe's Waffles and Chicken.
You always see it backwards.
What is it?
Chicken and waffles.
Yeah, Roscoe's Chicken.
We've been going there for 35 years. You've been saying
35
waffles
years
and
ago.
chicken. Yeah. So I was 21, and we're 13 years difference. So he was 34. Were you over 34?
No. Yes, come on.
Okay.
Yes, believe it or not, I was once 34 years old. And I was embarking on a new life as a single man. At any rate, there she was sitting, and I was sitting, and across from her, and she was eating, and I was enjoying the view. She was swinging these beautiful legs that she sports. And she said,
Are you just going to stare at my legs, or are you going to buy me lunch?
and I said, can I do both? And she said,
I wished I would have ordered milk, because I was a starving student. I was getting my master's degree. I was broke.
When I first saw her, I was blown away by her. And other guys were blown away by her too. But I was the first one to ask her out, and she said yes.
Yeah. And so we went to go, you took me to see Purple Rain when it debuted. In
July 1984.
I would never remember that. In North Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I remember about that was you kissed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember seeing stars.
Because I was her first boyfriend.
My first. He was my first kiss. He took my virginity. It was awesome.
And back then, times were different, and our parents grew up different ways. And my dad wasn't into interracial dating.
Yeah.
I lived in their house, drove my dad's car, so I kind of had to abide by his rules. As much as as I hated it, we did break up after almost a year of dating.
Yeah. And I remember him saying to me, but let's sneak around. Like, we can sneak around. We can make this work. And I was adamant. I was like, no, it won't work. It won't work. So I loved him. I never stopped loving him, but I just knew that we wouldn't have a future.
Right.
He came down and did this play, Othello, and I kept his daughter, Bianca. She actually stayed with us and Beyonce, and they were friends. And so we always stayed in touch. And then he did this thing for the drug program where he came to Houston quite a bit, and we would have, my husband and me, you know, we were all friends. So we'd have dinner and be together quite a bit when you came. I mean, we saw him every time he came.
There was a period of time when we lost contact, you know, when Beyonce's career took off, their focus was, you know, taking care of her career. And then one day I got a phone call from Monica. Now, Monica is one of her best friends, said, hey, you know, Tina's in town and, you know, and what you doing? Where can we find some men? I said, well, what you looking for? What's the menu? You want them rough? You want them smart? You want them, what you want? What you looking for? So I said, well, listen, why don't you guys come by the theater? I'm teaching tonight, so come and just sit in on the theater.
And then my friend looked behind me and was like, who is that heifer talking to your new husband? And I looked and I saw him laughing with this girl, and he just had a drink in his hand and he looked like he was having so much fun. And I said, you right, that is my husband. If he gonna laugh like that with anybody, it's gonna be me. I gotta go get my man back, girl.
So the moral of it is, at the end of the day, it wasn't chemistry that brought us together, it was competition.
So?
Well, what he's not saying is that leading up to this week, my ex-husband was getting married that Sunday. And so my friend Monica came, who is crazy, good crazy though. I said, oh, I need some Monica. So I was on tour with Beyonce at the time, and we were in LA. So she came down, she lives in San Francisco, and she was like, Tina, you're not sitting in this house. This is the weekend. This is Thursday before his wedding on Sunday. Now, I didn't want to get back with him at all, but I was sad because, you know, if you've been married to somebody for that long. So I was kind of down, and so she was like, we're getting out of here. We're going to go see some men. And I'm like, girl, where are we going to find some men at our age? Like, really? We went out to have drinks afterwards, and she's like, okay, Richard, what? Now we just need Tina to meet a nice guy, you know, just to get her feet wet and get back out there, because we had been divorced for a long time. I mean, like maybe a year and a half. And so he asked, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I'm looking for somebody with integrity, someone who likes to dance, who likes art, that's just free. And so he says, well, what about me? Because it all kind of described who he is. And we both said simultaneously, hell no.
I've always been a relationship kind of person, But at the time, I was just having fun. You know, I just wanted to be out with my girlfriends and have fun. And, you know, we connected and we knew we really liked each other. You know, it's just kind of like we kind of got each other. But, you know, I was trying to focus on acting. I just really got into it. And I think I booked a role in New Zealand on Xena. So I was like, I'm out of here. You know, it just was like I wasn't pushing it.
I didn't have a lot of confidence at the time, too, you know, to feel like I could sustain a strong relationship when I think that was worthy of her. Our paths just went two separate ways, mainly because we were just out nicing each other. Like
yeah,
we were
both so nice.
Yeah, it was kind of like I'm the therapist of my friend group, and she's the therapist of her friend group, and we're just so used to putting work into other folks, and I think
kind of putting ourselves last.
Yeah, and then I think we lost out like being therapists for other people in relationships and stuff.
And not pushing what was going on with us.
Danelle made a lasting impression on my life. I always had feelings for her. And I was never much into technology. And then someone taught me how to use a computer and sign up for, like, I think it was MySpace was a thing back in the day. And I would search for her, but I could never find her. And she was always in the back of my head, always, always.
So, you know, I had relationships and then got married. Thought I was going to be married forever and was married for 12 years. That did not work out. And I can tell you that as soon as I got divorced, in fact, as soon as my first marriage ended and the divorce was finalized, I got on Facebook and I looked for you.
He was doing a series. You were doing, what, Manimal, I think, or something?
Yeah.
And you had just finished doing some other movie I had seen. But no, I knew who he was. Plus, I read, you know, tabloid magazines and stuff, so I thought he was still married, but I didn't know.
So 21 years old, you see a 34-year-old possibly married man, and also kind of famous.
Brazen.
Yes.
Brazen.
No, come on now, tell the truth.
Brazen.
What happened now?
Well, here's what happened. All right, so we had the lunch, and there she was. And I kept saying to her, I said, who is this young lady here? She's kind of young, you know. And we went outside, and she got into a Mercedes-Benz and drove up. I said, wait a minute, hold. Who are you?
The women, you know, they like Richard. Richard's 70. He still got 70 years old, and they still be like, cuckoo eyes. So I was like, oh, hell no. So we laughed about it, and we just had a good time. And then the next night, we went out again. We went to a jazz club. And then on Monday, we had lunch. And I said, you know what? I'm really feeling good. I'm not sad at all. And I said, it's like a weight has been lifted. But the only thing that I'm kind of upset about is that in 2 weeks, Beyonce has a concert in Houston. And I don't want people looking at me saying, oh, look at poor Miss Tina. And so he came down for the concert in 2 weeks. And you know, we just had a really good time. And we connected. And eventually, and we talked, and I said, you know, I just got to really take it slow because, you know, and he said, yeah, well, I said, but I just really want to thank you for coming down here to support me. And he said, well, you know, I'm really attracted to you. And I was like, look, I'm too old for you.
No, I thought that's what you said.
No, that's what...
You didn't tell me you were attracted to me?
No, you told me you were attracted to me. Don't try it. And then I said...
I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not. I don't think you said it.
No, you said it.
Okay.
You said it.
All right.
Why are you changing the story now? What's up with you?
Go ahead with your story.
So anyway, I said, well, you know, I'm too old for you. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, you
well,
said
that came as a result of you
that.
saying, well, I'm attracted to you. And I say, yeah, but I'm too old for you. Because, you know, you like them young.
He started saying, meet me. Come meet me.
I said,
come to Philadelphia. And I was about 2.5 hours away from you.
About 2 hours, yeah.
And I'm like, no, because I'm thinking I just got divorced. I'm dating someone else. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing all these things. I felt like my life was full. And one of my yoga girlfriends asked me to meet her in Florida. I was living in Pennsylvania and wanted me to go skydiving. And so I go skydiving and I pay no attention to what they tell you. As they say, you will die 5 times. I pay no attention to that. We jump out the plane. I land wrong. I land on my knees, slide 15 feet. You can hear my MCLs popping in the video. Come home in a wheelchair. And that night, when I went to sleep, I had the most profound dream. So I feel that the skydiving, that changed my life. Because in that dream, I dreamt that Bobby walked me home. Just no reason. It was in this dream, and there was just so much depth to the dream. It felt real. So when I woke up that morning, I messaged him, and I said, hey, are you okay? And he goes, yeah, why wouldn't I be? Yeah. And I go, well, I jumped out of a plane, I sprained my knees, and it changed my life, and I had a dream that you were walking me home. And he says, that's because I wanted to make sure you got home safely. And that's when I realized he was still the same man that I fell in love with 27 years ago.
She was very self-assured, and I was intrigued by that, you know. I had a little clout at the time, you know, and so I was saying I was intrigued by the fact that she was so self-assured and so comfortable in her skin, you know. And
I gave you my real estate card because I was thinking, okay, he might be a good client. And I gave him my card, and that was it. I thought he was still married, and I wasn't going to mess with a married man. So,
I was not.
Right, but I didn't know this.
All right. At any rate.
So we went back and forth like this for months.
Yeah.
And he finally asked me one night when he called me, he said, how come you keep avoiding me? And I told him, because I don't mess with married men. I know that you're married, and he said, don't you read these magazines and stuff? So I said, why? And he said he had something to tell me, but he could only tell me face to face. He was down the street, not too far from where I was living, and he knocked on the door. I opened up the door, and he pointed his finger in my face, and he said, don't you know if I was married, I'd have never tried to talk to you, and closed the door. I didn't hear from him for months.
Pretty good move, huh?
I'm like a lightweight. I've never been drunk in my life. I've never smoked marijuana. I've never gotten high. I've never done anything. But my system is real sensitive. I was doing a movie, and it was going on 2 or 3 days with no sleep. Plus I was getting a cold. So I figured, okay, I'll take some NyQuil or something like that, and it'll help me sleep and deal with my cold. I took them and later just went bonkers, and I was convinced that I was gonna die. I was convinced that if I let myself go to sleep, that was it. I got so paranoid that thinking I was gonna die, I ended up confessing to her that
call me.
That she was the one. I gotta let her know that in case I'm gone, it was you.
Well, thanks for telling me now that you're gonna die.
No, but she didn't know I thought I was gonna die. But I just, but it turned out it was a bad reaction to some damn Tylenol PM. So the next day, I realized I had to put that out there, and I had to deal with it. So I basically was like, whoa, okay. About the other day, that night.
And the timing couldn't have been better because we both were at the end of our marriages, so,
I meet him for lunch. I pick him up at the train station. He gets in the car and he starts, I'm driving and he's poking me in my arm, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he was like, I can't believe you're real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I can't believe you're here.
We had the most amazing lunch. 10 minutes into the lunch, I put my fork down. I'm sitting here, he's sitting here, and he goes, what's wrong? Is your food okay? And I go, yeah. I go, can I have a kiss? And he goes, a kiss? Me? And I go, yeah, because all I can remember was, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? This man was the most amazing kisser. And so He licks his lips. We get up over the table, we kiss, and no kidding, I'm like, oh my word. Those lips are so soft. And we put our forks back down and we continue to talk and have a great lunch. Yeah. That's my version of the story.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
Was it? Okay.
And it didn't used to be your version of it, but that's the true version
We
of
get
it.
in the car, it was a lovely lunch, and I take him back to the train station, and we said goodbye, and I remember looking at you through my rearview mirror as I drove off, and he was wiping his face, he was sobbing. And I remember it broke my heart.
I remember saying to him, you know, I'm just really scared to get involved in this and, you know, kind of scared of the relationship, just getting into a serious relationship. And he kept saying, well, what is it to be afraid of? You know, you control your own destiny, and what you need to do is figure out what's the worst thing that could happen. And I was like, I have survived the worst of it. So what do I have to lose? If anything this has done for me is let me know that I can live again and I can have fun again and that I can find love again. So if this doesn't work out, then I'll find it again or I won't, but I'll be fine. And so from that point on, I decided that I would just, you know, pretty much move forward with everything. But I did have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety about it, of just being hurt again, you know?
I drove up to go see this play that he was doing, this one-man show called Proud. And I was about 40 minutes early to the play. I said I did not want to miss him. I want to come see him in this play because now he won't call me back. He doesn't answer my calls. Matter of fact, I called his number. It was changed, everything. So I said, God, did I really hurt his feelings or something? And I pulled up for the play, and guess who pulls up right behind me?
Kismet.
And he said, I recognize that car. I thought that was you. And he said to me, wait for me after the show. That was it. I called the person I was dating at the time. I said, we might as well break up right now because I met the man I'm going to marry.
So he had told me, he said, well, when I'm done filming this and I get back to LA, I want to just take you out, you know? And I was like, cool. So he kept to his promise, and we went to dinner, we went dancing, and we just had fun. And it was almost like no time had passed. Yeah. It just went right back.
It's exactly like your best friend.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't have to be around your best friend, and you just pick up right where you left off, and it's just, it always was like that around her. But I was thinking, thought like, okay, yeah, this feels nice, but getting kicked in the teeth is just around the corner. Just something's going to happen.
We always thought, it's like, this is like too good to be true. I was the same way. I was like, something bad has to happen. This is just too perfect.
I told him then, I don't know if I'll see you again because my company's going to be relocating me. I'm having knee surgery.
Right, you're having
knee surgery. And then after knee surgery, I'm going to be relocated. I don't know if I'll see you again. And he said to me, well, who's going to take care of you when you have knee surgery? And I'm like, I don't need to be taken care of. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And that just didn't dawn on me. And he said, I'll take off from work. I'll come take care of you. I'll take a bus to where you live, which was like a 4.5-hour bus ride. He shows up by bus the eve of my surgery. The next morning I get up early. We go to the hospital for surgery, and I remember the nurse coming into the room because the room had a glass window, like the holding room. And I was on the bed in my little hospital gown, and he was sitting behind the wall, and the nurse couldn't see who I was talking to. And the nurse comes in and she looks at him and she goes, I had to come in to see what was causing you to have such a great smile on your face. She goes, we're prepping you for surgery. She said, and she was like, we haven't given you any drugs. And, and I was like, oh, it's my old boyfriend. I said, he's here to help
take care. You don't need drugs with me.
Yeah, help take care of me. So he was great. He was a great nurse. So mind you, I hadn't seen this man or talked to him in 27 years, and he came and took amazing care of me. He fed me, clothed me, bathed me, got me in and out of the tub. And at the end of that week, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, he had to return back to Philadelphia. And that's when I told him, I'm moving. I'm moving to Virginia. And he goes, I don't want to go another 27 years without you in my life. And
I said, all you gotta do is ask me.
And I said, come with me. And he goes, are you sure? And I go, no.
That's exactly what happened.
And he rolls his eyes. He's like, that's not how the story's supposed to go.
My daughter gave me, for my 60th birthday, this boat trip. And we went on that boat trip, and all the other people on the boat trip were married except us. So that kind of, I think, influenced us a little bit because, I mean, it was great. And we called it the Love Boat. And we just kind of rekindled relationships. So we were in that romantic space. And then after that, I went on a boat with Beyonce and Jay and Blue and some other friends. And then one night we came down and Blue said, oh, y'all look beautiful. When are y'all getting married? And I think she was about 3. Not that that made us do it, but it kind of made us start laughing about it and talking about it. And then we just decided, I think on that trip, right?
I called her children and I asked for her hand in marriage from them. I thought that that was important because I knew without that, based upon the fact that Tina lives for her children, that it didn't stand a chance unless they were on board. I was fortunate enough that they were completely on board and they were just over the top excited about it.
I have a biological son who was 17, and then
My 3 children.
17, 14, and 10.
And I never forget, you sat down with the whole family, my mother included, and we had a little dog named Cookie at the time. And he basically was out, like, check it out. I'm marrying all y'all.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't have gimmicks. I'm not going to try to win you over with gifts and, you know, regalia.
Magician.
He was like,
consistent.
I'm going to be consistent.
Open,
I'm going to be there
clear,
for you.
honest and
If
consistent.
you need something, I got you. And it was like pretty much like, that's it, that's all.
Probably wasn't until he moved with me to Virginia and we decided to make a life together. I think at that point I was thinking, oh, we're just gonna live together and, you know, love each other. And then you proposed. You proposed when we lived in Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I first saw her, it was like the 27 years hadn't been there. It was like discontinuation. I fell in love the very first day again that we met. She's an amazing person, and getting to know her over the next couple of months just reaffirmed that for me, and I wanted to be with her.
I've never been remotely as happy as I am now. One of the most painful things is for me to think about is how much time I spent away from her, running around, being, you know, doing what I thought I was supposed to be, you know, do as a man, or it feels like, wow, we missed a decade of just an amazing experience, and we got to embrace the failed relationships in a way where if it wasn't for those relationships, we wouldn't appreciate what we have now.
That's what it is.
To such a degree.
What it really is.
Yeah.
He had said something to me at one point. He was like, you know, I lost you one time before. It's never happening again, ever. So it's kind of like those words had so much, you know, weight to them. I never even thought, like, what if this doesn't work out, or what, you know?
Yeah.
It was always like, this is who I'm going to be with till the day I die, you know?
Yeah.
That's it.
We were together for 10 years. Having come out of 2 marriages, I had no plan whatsoever to ever tie the knot again. And one evening, and we had discussed.
But we had a kid.
We had
We had D.
Yeah, we had our daughter. We had our daughter in that interim. She was in the bed reading, as she does at night. Hair and rollers. After the honeymoon is over, you know what y'all be wearing after the honeymoon.
Real clothes.
Yeah. And she's sitting there, she's reading, and he turned the page, she's reading. And it just came out of my mouth. I don't know how that happened to this day. I don't know how I opened my mouth. I knew that. And the words, "Will you marry me?" came out of my mouth before and she said, "What?" And they came out again. And she turned the page and she said, "Are you serious?" And the words came out of my mouth, yes, I'm serious. And she said, get down on one knee. And I did it. And she said, ask me again. And I did it. And that was 25 years ago.
Now, like every couple, we have arguments, and sometimes they're heated, and not very often. And she's more stubborn than I am.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
After a fight, 5 minutes later, I'm ready to cuddle up next to her, and she's like,
I'm ready to pack his bags and...
But in the end, our love comes through because we know how much we love each other.
Yeah.
And we know that we want to be together.
And being apart, I think, causes us to savor the good times.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
so being apart for 27 years makes me know that, oh, I've got to get to compromise. As stubborn and as selfish as and independent, I think, as I can be, I know I'm so much more with his love and his support.
In the end of arguments, we don't have a problem saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then moving on and talking about it and then moving on from it.
I was maybe divorced 2 years when we met, but I met him on September 4th of 2009. He gave me a ring September 4th of 2010, and we were married in May of 2011. So it was really quick. He said, I'm dating you with a purpose. I said, well, what's the purpose? You know, he was like, I'm looking for my rib. And I was like, well, come on, Daddy. Right here.
I was like, listen, you know, this is going to be my first time in a marriage. You've been there 16 years. Are you sure you don't want to see what's going on out there? I can let you know ain't a lot going on out in these streets, but I just want you to be 100% sure.
He kept asking me that.
Yes.
You sure you don't need some more time?
Right.
Sure you don't want to run around? Sure you don't need to go on a girls trip? Sure you don't?
Yeah, just...
You sure you ready already? That soon? And I was like, hell yeah. I'm ready for you, Daddy.
No, what it was, you know, you kind of realize at some point that you're happier with the person that you're with, and that it makes more sense for some reason or other, that you're clearer in thought and presence than when you're not with that person. And if you come to that realization, then it makes only sense if you're an intelligent human being to do whatever you can to be with that person.
If you want something and you vibrate on the level of the thing that you want, the only thing that can happen is that you will get it. It's not philosophy, it's physics.
It's energy.
It's physics. It's the energy. It's like music. This is, you know, one of the disasters in this world is that people stop slow dancing. Because when people slow dance, there was an energy. You felt that energy. You know, you were heart to heart. And the person was next to you and you smelt them. You felt their energy and you felt their heart beating. And so you would talk and you would get to know and you would fall in love in that moment. Or you would know for sure, you know,
that pressed hair maybe ain't so much of a turn on. Back then they were pressed hair.
Never bothered me because they had all that other stuff
Remember all
going
that
on.
oil and dirt?
Yeah, you'd have to like unpeel.
Yeah.
I had a girl tell me that one time we were having a party where we were going to bring all our single friends together. And she was like, oh, my God, girl, I can't stand these brothers in the streets. They not this, they not that, whatever. But, girl, what time is your party? I was like, girl, you're not coming to my party. You are not coming to my party with that stank attitude, stinking my party all up with your negative vibes. No, ma'am, Pam. You know, so you have to be a prepared place for the things that God has for you. He will always prepare you for what he has prepared for you. And that's the place you want to rest in, especially when it comes to love. And the funny thing about it is that it's the very thing that we were created for, yet it's the place we struggle the most.
I wrote down all the good things about myself, which is really hard. Have you ever tried to do that? To just sit down and write out 10 things that are really good about yourself? I wrote these things about myself, and I was like, I'm a bad sister. I have done some pretty incredible things. I'm not so bad. I deserve somebody because I'm great, you know? And that's not an arrogant thing. That's just like all these years I've accomplished all these things, but I never really even took a look at them. I never owned them or felt good about them. So all of a sudden I felt good about myself, and I think that's how I was able to attract someone. So if you are out there and you want to attract somebody, fall in love with yourself. And know your worth. You know, it really makes a difference. At 59, I moved to a new city, got a new car, a new man, a new life, and it is possible. I envisioned the type of man I wanted. I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love, and we're having a really good time, and I'm enjoying life. So there is hope, women. Ladies.
In my last marriage, there's a lot of stuff that I could have brought into this relationship, and it would have caused us problems, you know? But I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm not gonna mess up what I have with him with past stuff from last relationships, you know? So I just let it go. As a woman, you think too much in this stuff, and you like, what, you know? And I'm like, stop it, stop it, stop it. Don't do that, because he's not anyone else from the past. He is him, and he is an amazing guy. So don't screw this up.
I wasn't the most forthright guy in relationships. You know, I had never been. So she had a lot of reasons to hold on or to be trepidatious. When you walk that rope with no net and you get to the other side, you experience something that is just unbelievable, and you can't experience that unless you take that
chance.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things that that I did in my first marriage, I try to avoid. One is, you know, I always say that the day I had a child and I saw my child, I became a mother first, you know, and so this time around, I'm trying to be a wife first. Not all the time, because it's not always possible, and sometimes I am a mother first. But to also feel like I deserve to spend some time on my life as well. And I made a lot of milestones in terms of feeling like I have to be there for everything that they do and be so supportive. And I did that a lot. And so I'm trying really this time around to respect myself a little more, and my feelings and my wants and my needs, and put myself first and put my marriage first.
The biggest lesson that I learned in my first marriage was the importance of time. I spent a lot of time living a lie, and it was time I couldn't get back. So standing in my truth, flat-footed in that thing, no matter what it costs me, has been the gift that I've taken into my new marriage. I'm gonna always tell my truth. I might click that light back on at 4 o'clock in the morning and be like, and another thing. Because I wanna make sure you completely hear me and you understand, you know what I mean, my being, my point, my thought processes, why I'm feeling like I'm feeling, you know. That was I learned it there in the old marriage, and I flipped it in the new marriage. So I don't stay silent, and I don't have a lot of time to spend unhappy. You know, life is short, and so I want to enjoy it and enjoy my husband all the time.
Bills and PMS. If you can get through bills and PMS and find a way to structure, get through bills and PMS, you can find a way.
All right. You think A, I think B. I'm not gonna sit up here no more argue through till the morning time. So we gonna have sex. We gonna get over it. Cause I got better
and we
things
usually
to
do.
So even if he asks me, which one of these jackets you like? And I say that one, he'll come downstairs with the other jacket on. It's an act of defiance. That's what it is.
It's defiance. It's
Defiance.
not okay.
I know how to get along with people.
I'm a fairly amenable cat and I enjoy people. My mother-in-law